Okay, so when you are doing genetics word problems, whether it's Mendelian or non-Mendelian genetics, there's a couple shortcuts that will save you lots of time, especially when you get into, multiple traits happening. So like instead of solving like a big 16-box dihybrid cross or Punnett square, you can use shortcuts to help you out. So luckily, I've already made a video on the rule of multiplication, and this video will be a short video on just the rule of addition. So those two things, the addition rule and the multiplication rule, make up some important formulas that you can use when calculating the probability that certain events will occur. So let's go ahead, though, and look at just one example of the rule of addition. And I'm only giving one example because in all of my years teaching AP Bio, I would say the addition rule shows up less often compared to the rule of multiplication. So I do highly recommend my second video on the multiplication rule because it will be super helpful in saving you time when solving genetics problems. But anyway, so the rule of addition, or the addition rule, is used to find the probability that something will occur when the two outcomes, or the outcomes that you're, calculating the probability for, cannot happen simultaneously. Now, I'm not really good at writing definitions like this. I think it's easier to show you an example. So let's say we have a couple and they're both heterozygous for eye color. So the question is, what is the probability that the baby will be homozygous dominant or homozygous recessive? Now these two events, homozygous dominant, homozygous recessive, cannot happen simultaneously. This couple cannot have a baby that is both homozygous dominant for eye color and homozygous recessive for eye color. It's not possible. So therefore, we're looking at the likelihood of two separate events occurring. And so I have it circled over here. If the question is or, that's when you're going to add the probability of each of the separate events together. So I think this makes the most sense if we actually just do it. So here we have our Punnett square filled in for us. And when I look at the probability of having an offspring that's homozygous dominant, that is 1/4, right? And the probability of this couple having an offspring that is homozygous recessive is 1/4. So the question becomes, though, what is the probability of them having an offspring that is homozygous dominant or homozygous recessive? So we're asking, what's the probability of either of those events occurring? This is where we're going to add them together because there's a 1/4 chance and a 1/4 chance. So we add them because in this example, both are acceptable for the question, right? Like they're either or. Sorry. So then we add them and there's a 1/2 chance, right? So there's a 50% chance that the offspring that in question will have either homozygous dominant or homozygous recessive. Now, if the question was something like, what is the probability of the offspring being homozygous dominant and like having freckles? Those are two different traits happening together simultaneously. That is where you're going to use the rule of multiplication. And so I already have a short 4-minute video made with multiple examples actually on the rule of multiplication that I highly recommend that you watch next. That one is going to save you lots of times when dealing with two traits happening together. All right, great job.